Have you ever landed on a website and thought, wow, this is amazing, while another one just leaves you totally frustrated? Well, the difference often comes down to one single thing, the very first step. Today, we're going to break down that crucial first step, pulling insights directly from a university web design course to show you how to kick off any web project the right way.
So let me ask you, what do you think is the very first thing you do when you design a website? Is it picking out a cool color palette, sketching out the homepage, maybe jumping right into the code? You know, those are all super common answers, but the real first step? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking.
Yeah, the truth is, the most critical part of the process has absolutely nothing to do with how the site looks or the technology behind it. It's a strategic planning phase that has to happen before you even think about design. And honestly, it's what separates a project that shines from one that just falls flat.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about that mindset shift, planning before you design. Then we'll dive into understanding the business goals and figuring out who the website is actually for. After that, we'll cover the core principles of good design, create a user persona to bring it all to life, and wrap up with why this whole process is a total game changer.
Okay, let's get into it. The single biggest mistake you can make is jumping straight into design. Seriously, before a single pixel gets placed on a screen, you have to do the foundational work. The strategy part, that is the real step one.
So what does this foundational work actually involve? Well, it all starts with something called business analysis. And trust me, this is the bedrock of any successful web project.
At its core, business analysis is all about figuring out what a business actually needs, not just what you assume it needs. It's so easy to start designing something based on our own personal taste, right? But if you do that, you might build a beautiful website that doesn't solve a single real-world problem. This process forces you to focus on the client's actual goals from the get-go.
And this quote from our source material just nails it. The job isn't just about listing features. It's about helping the business connect with its customers on a deeper level. It's a huge shift from just building a product to building genuine empathy for the user.
The process itself is actually pretty logical. First, you identify all the key people involved, your stakeholders. Then you talk to them and gather what they really need from the project. After that, you take all that info and analyze it to find patterns and priorities. And only then do you propose a solution that actually solves their problems.
Okay, let's zoom in on that very first step, identifying the key people. This is all about understanding your stakeholders, and you can't afford to get this part wrong. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. So who are stakeholders? Basically, they're anyone and everyone who has a stake in the project's outcome. And as you're about to see, this group is almost always way bigger and more diverse than you'd first imagine. You can usually split stakeholders into two main groups. You've got your internal folks, like the employees who have to use the new system or the managers, and then you have your external stakeholders, the customers who are buying things or the students trying to register for classes. A great website has to work for all of them.
So, how do you get inside their heads? Well, there are a bunch of techniques. You can do one-on-one interviews, send out broad surveys, host workshops, or even just sit back and observe how people are currently getting the job done. The goal here is just to collect real data on what they need and what drives them crazy.
All right, so you've done the work. You've talked to everyone. You've gathered piles of data. Now what? You can't just start building randomly. You need a framework, a set of rules to turn all that data into something people will love to use. That's where the principles of human-computer interaction, or HCI, come into play.
The easiest way to think about HCI principles is like the rules of the road for good design. They're these fundamental guidelines that help make sure whatever you create is intuitive, effective, and just easy to use, no matter who's on the other side of the screen.
These principles act like a checklist for awesome design. You ask yourself things like, is this website actually easy to learn and use? Does it feel consistent from one page to the next? When a user clicks a button, does the site give them clear feedback so they know what happened? Can they find the important stuff without getting lost? And a huge one, does the design actively prevent people from making silly mistakes? It's all about creating a smooth, frustration-free experience.
Okay, so now you have your data and you have your design principles. But all that can still feel a little abstract, right? How do you make sure you remember the actual human being you're designing for? Well, that's where user personas come in. And they are so cool.
A user persona is an incredibly powerful tool. This is where all that research you did comes to life. You take all those spreadsheets and interview notes and distill them into a profile of a fictional but totally realistic user. It literally gives your team a person to design for, not just a set of requirements.
In a good persona, feels like a real person. You give them a name and a photo so they're relatable. You add some demographics and a backstory for context. But the most important parts are their goals, what are they trying to do, and their frustrations. What's currently getting in their way? And a sharp, defining quote can just tie it all together perfectly.
For example, let's imagine we're working for a company like Airbnb. Meet budget traveler Tina. We instantly get her. We know who she is, what she wants, affordable, unique spots, and what drives her nuts, sketchy listings and bad communication. This one little profile gives designers such a clear target. Every decision can be measured against, would this help Tina?
So after going through all this, the business analysis, the stakeholder interviews, the design principles, creating personas, you might be wondering, okay, that's a lot of upfront work. What's the big payoff? Is it really worth it?
The answer is a resounding yes. To put it simply, this whole process is what separates a successful project from a really expensive failure. It completely eliminates the guesswork. You stop building what you think people want, and you start building what you know they need. And that simple shift saves an unbelievable amount of time, money, and headaches.
And the benefits are so tangible. When everyone on the team is designing for Tina, communication just clicks. And when that improves, you avoid costly redesigns, which brings down the budget. Most importantly, when your decisions are backed by actual data instead of just a hunch, you end up building a much, much better product that people will actually want to use.
So the next time you're starting a project, don't ask yourself, what should this look like? Instead, start by asking, what problem will this solve and for who? Because that is the real first step to creating something truly great.